Hello, everyone, and welcome to Preparing Your Career for a Posting, 5 Steps to Successful Career Transition. Let me introduce myself. My name is Holly Rye, and I'm the Employment and Education Services Coordinator here at the Halifax and Region MFRC. I've had the honor of living the military lifestyle as a child and a family member, but most importantly, I've had the pleasure of coaching hundreds of military spouses through successful career transition over the past 18 years. I'm really excited to be here with you today, and I want to thank you for taking the time to participate in this employment readiness workshop. In the spirit of learning how to further your employment potential during a move or a regular career transition, and let's start with getting your career ready for a posting. So our wish for you today really boils down to these 4 key points. We want to provide you with the 5 key steps to use when you're preparing your career for a posting. We also would like you to be aware of the employment-related resources that are available to you. Tell you how you can get connected to the MFRC and access support and services, not just in employment support, but in other related areas. And have an opportunity to learn some best practices as we move forward. So first and foremost, we want to look at a quick survey here, and it's all about how many times you have changed jobs in your lifetime. So we have a couple of different options, 5 to 9 years, 10 to 15 years, and 16 to 20 years. So the question is, considering what those 3 timelines are, how many times have you personally changed jobs? I know for myself, for example, I'm probably working on number 10 at this point, and I am, at that point in my career where I'm on the other end of it. So I think that, usually people of my age are in around 10 years. Or 10 to 15 times that they've changed their jobs. But on average, and I think you might be surprised to hear this, the average Canadian will change their jobs 19 times. So let's just sit with that for just a second. That whole concept of going to work for the same company, working hard, then retiring, with the gold watch, that's just no longer a reality for most people. Our economy has shifted. And it's not, a skill-based economy where employers are hiring you for a specific skill set. There's also opportunity there for people to transition into jobs that are not unlike anything else that they have ever done. So those days of permanent employment are really quickly being replaced by contract work, self-employment, term positions. All of those now represent our reality in the working world. So the idea of career mobility, once it used to be very specific and unique to the military spouse experience, it's actually now extremely common. And if you look at most millennials, their resumes really reflect lots of movement and frequent position changes. And they really have embraced the whole idea that there will be many job changes throughout their lives. So that 19 jobs, although it seems sort of daunting and a lot, you really break it down, you realize that, this isn't really a big surprise for most people, and that extends beyond the military spouse's experience. So knowing that the truth is you are going to have a lot of career transition, there's ways in which you can go about it that will really set you up for success, and that's what we're really hoping to achieve tonight and to give you some insight on. So we'll move forward to the next screen and looking at just what are some of those things that, in the past, working with military spouses, some of those things that they have done that has really made them prepared for a career change, better positioned, as we say. So for some, it's LinkedIn and updating their profile as soon as they find out that they're going to be experiencing a posting. Some of them, it's updating their resume. And, for some, it's an automatic reach out to the MFRC. So what I really want to leave you with in terms of being able to prepare your career for a posting is that there are spouses out there that have an effortless transition into their new careers, while there's others that still struggle and don't necessarily experience the same level of success as quickly. So what makes them different? And how can one be better than the other or more prepared? But more importantly, how can we actually get that information so that everyone can tap into that same approach and get better results? In assisting military spouses through transition for a very long time, I can say with confidence that there is a system that's used by those that are successful. And when you apply it, it does bring about success much quicker. So those 5 main steps are what we're going to discuss today and we're going to touch on. And hopefully by the end of it, we've shared those with you and you're able to put those into your own practice and into your own experiences as you move forward. All right, so let's start with the very first step, which is all about staying organized. And I guess for some of us, those of us that are uber organizers, this is probably a very natural second nature kind of thing. While there's others of us that like to sort of sit back, just see how things are going to transpire, and then decide on our way of action or our way ahead. So the idea about being organized really focuses on, how do you keep a record of your information? So where do you keep things so that you're able to document and reach things pretty quickly? The contacts that you've made, the forms that you've filled out, whether you've done this electronically or manually, it's really good to have all of your information in one place so that you can access it easily. Be strategic though, have a plan of action and start on that immediately. The other thing you got to think about is your realistic timelines for outcomes. You're not going to be able to do everything and anything when it comes to career transition from the place in which you're living currently. Some of this stuff will have to be deferred until you actually get into your new community. So developing those realistic timelines and outcomes really helps you in terms of managing your expectations of what can be prioritized, what can't be, and what can you do right away. List what you're able to accomplish before you leave your current posting, and also list what needs to wait until you actually have arrived. Develop your action plan based on what is doable at this particular moment in time. Things will shift as they need to, but what is doable at this particular moment in time? Right. The second thing you want to consider, and I love this screen, is what are your career goals? So what I find really particularly ironic about this screen is that if we were doing this presentation, 5, 8 years ago, we wouldn't have even touched on this topic. So we've made huge strides in the area of career development for military spouses. And for once, I can tell you, I'm kind of happy that I'm old enough to be able to see these changes come about. But the reality is that most military spouses have done their own career development, and they have gone to school, they have taken educational pursuits, they have their own idea of what their career is. And in a lot of cases, the military spouse, in some cases, maybe many, they've achieved a high level of education. So it's really important for them to be able to consider what their career goals are as they are supporting the CAF member and living that military lifestyle. So some of the things to consider when it comes to your own career is, where are you with your own career? Are you able to now maybe explore your career and the potential of making it possibly mobile? Once you've assessed that direction that you want to move your career in, does it mean now that you might have to go back to school? Is there further training or professional development that you're going to have to undertake in order to be able to position your career in the place where you want it to be? And that also, there might be some time and opportunity there to consider, is it time for maybe you to consider being an entrepreneur. So if you're now, currently employed for a particular employer, is this now something that you want to consider doing on a contract basis? Is it something that you can take with you to that new posting? Do your research. See what the job market is like for your occupation in your destination city. Things can change. There are regional differences, definitely, in Canada. We're a very large country, and we have a very different lens on one side of the country as we do on the other. So using things like labor market information, or LMI, will help you tap into what your career looks like specifically in the province that you're living in or going to be living in. So does your occupation require things like certification in the province that you're going to be moving to? Consider that provincial recertification and professional licensing takes time to process. And when you think back to the things that you're able to do before you even leave your current city to move to your new one, this could be something that you can actually start. The process could begin for you in your current province, and so that way when you get to your destination, some of that stuff has already taken place, and it's not as time consuming. There's nothing worse than getting to a new destination and realizing, oh, I have to register with this particular province and provincial body, and that's going to be a 3 to 4 week or worse wait. So that delays your process a little bit. Something to consider too when you want to talk about your career goals is, does your employer have a subsidiary in the destination city that you are going to? And is there an opportunity perhaps for you to apply for work within your own organization in a different location? So I know the financial and the insurance agencies in industry have a lot of branches throughout our country. And so for some military spouses, it's simply a matter of remaining with the same organization or company, but being employed in a different branch in a different area. So there's lots of resources that you can tap into that I'll provide you with post-session notes on, and they'll cover many of these considerations that I've just gone over here. But one of the most important things that you can always have in your back pocket is to know that you can access employment and education services through the MFRC that can help you navigate some of this research and kind of point you in the right direction. The other thing I would like to say about labor market information and its usefulness is it really comes into play even as early as your house hunting trip. And what I mean by that is when you are tapping into labor market information, you can actually look at things like salary bands for your job and your required education, what that occupation actually demands. But I have seen people use salary expectation in order to determine what type of, mortgage, for example, that they want to undertake. So then that determines what part of the city that they might want to live in. So things like that really inform your decision making and gives you the tools that you really need to be able to set yourself up where you're not running behind the 8 ball and you're not trying to play catch up and you're not misinformed about your particular earning potential, because that is where a lot of differences can exist. And for some, they're not learning about that until it's almost too late. So just keep in mind that, your position and the level of education and time that you've had in that position could look really different in British Columbia, for example, than it could look in Nova Scotia. And so when you're trying to inform some of those, your buying strategies when it comes to your, your real estate, your home, those kinds of things, it's good to be able to know some of that stuff before you get into those big decisions that you have to make. All right, let's move on to step number 3. This is simply put, update, translate, and activate. It has everything to do with dusting off your resume and updating that LinkedIn profile. So you want to make sure that, not only have you updated your resume, but if you're moving from potentially an area like Quebec, for example, that the translation is perhaps done before you even leave there. Sometimes it's a little harder to get that translation support in other provinces. And the other thing is your LinkedIn profile. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date. It is a major tool that recruiters use. It's the first place that people go to when they're starting to recruit. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but it is a strategic tool for people to use. So you want to make sure everything is current and as updated as possible. Again, I'll suggest to you, have a career professional review and critique your resume before you begin to send it out. This alone can save you so much time and effort. And, you know, the service is available to you at your MFRC. So there's no reason why you can't take advantage of that ahead of time. Without doubt, and I'll say this again, most important step of all of this is like I said before, getting connected and getting that resume up to date. And we'll talk about how you can get connected in a later slide coming up. That's number 3. On to number 4. So the one thing that you got to keep in mind about employment insurance is what is the financial assistance that's available to you right away? And one of the things that you can always think to tap into is employment insurance. And really, how do you go about that process of applying for this particular benefit? The other thing, too, is looking at whether or not there's financial support available for you, through either Brookfield for your transition, or I know for some military spouses returning back from an OCAN posting, there are other things that are available to you as well, which is the BGRS. Again, I will have these all in the after session notes and the links to them so that you can explore them a little bit further. So I'd like to take a minute and just look at employment insurance. And before we even begin, I just want to say that, you know, I'm not an employee of Service Canada, so, you know, I'm not an expert in all of this, all things employment insurance. But what I will say to you is that it is so surprising to me how many military spouses do not think to even apply for EI. So they've changed it. It's no longer called UI, unemployment insurance. It's actually called employment insurance, which means that you have paid into this in order to receive it when you need it the most, okay? So let's take a couple of minutes here and just kind of unfold this whole employment insurance thing. The ROE, which is called your record of employment, is really the single most important document in this whole process of employment insurance. You got to make sure that it's accurate and that it reflects exactly what your situation is. So you want to make sure that it indicates the reason why you're terminating your position. So many people come to me and say, well, I didn't think I was eligible because I had to quit my job. Well, let's look at that for a second. You had to quit your job because your spouse had a posting. He was assigned or she was assigned a posting. So it's a little bit deeper than you had to, you know, you had to quit your job because your spouse was moving. So you want to really make sure that the ROE states that. It states that you're terminating your position because your spouse is in the military and they have been given a posting. Don't assume that you're not eligible. Employment and Service Canada will determine your eligibility based on the amount of insurable earnings that you have made to date, not based on whether or not you've had to quit a position because you're a military spouse. So let them do that. Let them determine what your eligibility is. There are different hours that are required for different parts of the country. I know here in Nova Scotia it's a little less than it would be in a place like Ontario or BC, but don't assume anything. And at the worst, you can check and see, and the worst thing that can happen is they can say no, but in most cases, I've never seen a military spouse who's been denied benefits because they've had to quit a job. It's more because they don't have enough insurable earnings. I think that we've covered just about enough through employment insurance. Again, in the after session notes, there'll be a link to that website that you can look at your leisure and decide your way ahead on that one.
And Holly, the email, they can ask you for the after session emailing you.
Yes, absolutely. They can email me directly, and I can provide that for them for sure. Yeah. Okay, so the fifth one is all about getting connected. And really, there's a couple of key areas here. You're going to sound like a broken record, but here we go again. Seek the advice of the experts who can help you through this. You don't have to go through this alone. This is something that has been set up as a support service within military family support. We're here to help you, more than willing to help you. Reach out to your MFRC and take advantage of the career professionals that they have on staff, whether it is in your existing MFRC or the MFRC that you're moving to. You know, the other thing you got to consider too is what is available to you professionally in your new city. So there's professional organizations out there, and they're a great way for you to network and to connect. You know, if you belong to the Professional Association of Nova Scotia and you're like a lawyer or you're like a teacher or you're a social worker or an administrative professional, everyone has a professional association these days. So if you don't currently belong to that professional association in the labor market that you reside, go online, check it out, see if there is a professional association and get connected to that. The other thing too, and most people laugh at this, but it's a true story, your real estate agent is the most professional networker that you'll probably ever encounter. And that's because their business is 100% based on word of mouth. So you've just probably spent a lot of money on a home and you've given that real estate agent potentially some great commission. And I would suggest to you, reach out to them, ask them who's who in the zoo. You know, they might know somebody who knows somebody, and that's that hidden job market, you know, where that whole 75% of the jobs exist. Use your connections, and in some cases, your best connection when you move to a new city is your real estate agent. That's that one person who really has a tap into that local labor market and local business community especially, because they're doing their own networking for their business. So ask them, you know, who do they know and who can they connect you with that could potentially help you with navigating some of the industry, you know, the players that are in this particular new setting that you find yourself in. The other thing too to think about is volunteering, because really volunteering is twofold. Not only do you get an opportunity to give back to your community, but it also gives back to you. So, you know, you have a chance to meet new people. You can sometimes leverage this experience into employment. I've seen it many times over and over again at the MFRC even. You know, I've seen people start off as being volunteers and have ended up as being staff over the years. But volunteering will get you connected to that local environment, and it will also give you that social connection that, you know, is so vitally important when you move into a new area. All right, let's look at the next slide, which is, again, that seeking professional advice. So there's two key players that will help you through the immediate needs of transition. We certainly have a team of multidisciplinary professionals that are at your disposal, and the best way to really get to know that is to get on our website. That will be also in the post-session notes as well. But my contact information is theirs as well too, and so is Nancy Belanger, who is our Welcome and Relocation Services Coordinator. And any of you that are in the Air Force, you'd be familiar with the RCAF pilot program that they have. It's a family sponsorship program that does exist as well in Halifax, because of course we have part of our Navy base is also an Air Force detachment, a wing, which is where I work. So those of you that have had the experience and benefit from using the sponsorship program, it exists here as well for those posted to Shearwater. But more importantly, Nancy is like she's the go-to. She's the know everything you need to know about HRM, and extremely knowledgeable, very approachable, and really can point you in a lot of great directions when you're first, you know, moving and meaning to get connected for sure. Okay, and here's our contact information. So I am reachable through this email address, and I've been checking my voicemail regularly. Right now we're working from home. There's Nancy's there as well, and most importantly, the website, which will get you through to all the other areas that would be important to you through your posting and your transition. Okay, and just want to speak a little bit about the MFRCs that we have here. The H&R MFRC, so H&R, for those of you that are not Haligonians yet, that refers to Halifax and Region, and that encompasses quite a lot of a geographic area, but I thought that this might show you where we are located. So really, the H&R MFRC has the top part of the province, and you'll see Cape Breton up there all by itself, which is, which you're able to get to via causeway. You don't need a boat. But we have a location in Sydney, one in Shearwater, which is at the Air Force Wing. That's where I hang my hat. And then we have another location in Windsor Park, which is pretty central to everybody who is either in 5-Div or in the Navy as well. And then you'll see the bottom part of the province is taken care of by the Greenwood MFRC. And just so you know, you've got about 32 MFRCs across the country, so absolutely no reason to feel that you can't get connected there. You can reach out. We are all used to assisting people virtually, whatever means of communication you would rather receive your support in, we can certainly work around that, sure. All right, so the next one is a little bit about professional associations, as I had spoken to before. And it's just really another reminder, because I think this is one of the least tapped in resources that are out there. If you do require recertification and you have a professional designation, you really need to reach out to your association, because 9 times out of 10, they would be taking care of the recertification in your occupation anyway. But that will, allow you to find out what you have in order to secure employment here in this industry. There might be in Nova Scotia. So there might be a need for you to do a little bit of recertification. That might be a reality. And, that's something that you can certainly begin before you even leave your existing residence. And because of the timelines here, you need to start to consider this as something before you even start the process. Don't underestimate that power of networking and association. So, these only represent 4 of hundreds of different associations in Nova Scotia and in Canada. I picked the top 4: the Teachers Association, the Nova Scotia Dental Association, Association of Social Workers and Engineers, but there are so many more. Do a Google search, get on there and see, if there's one that you can join because of your particular experience, and use it as an opportunity to get connected as soon as you move into your new location. They're always doing things like networking events or other things like lists of employment opportunities. I know with the Nova Scotia Teachers Union, part of their website has actually a link to the teaching positions. So you want to really make sure you get connected in there, because it's going to be a bridge to so many more pieces of information and things that you can really tap into. And if you're not able to secure employment right away, if you consider maybe, volunteering for your professional association. I know of a gentleman who was a spouse, came from BC. He was not able to get work right away and started to volunteer with the Construction Association of Nova Scotia. He did a lot of occupational health and safety work. He started to volunteer on a research board through them. That led into a different, opportunities to meet and greet with other players. And then all of a sudden there was a job opportunity available, and because he did the volunteer work with the association, he got an interview, and actually happy to say he landed the job. So there's a really good example of how you can take belonging to a professional association, doing a little bit of volunteer work, and then all of a sudden that has actually propelled into, full-time employment. And it looks great on your resume. I can't lie about that. If you have something that's locally, it's something that an employer can potentially relate to, that's only going to help you. That's going to give you a really good foot up. This other type of connecting is, I often think of this as a real kind of American, kind of approach, but, needless to say, I have to say, I got a job when we moved to Toronto because my boss was a St. Mary's grad, and so there is alumni chapters that exist throughout. So if you've gone to X, Carleton, UBC, give it a go. See if there are chapters in your new local area. And, those chapters can lead to things like those networking events and potential opportunities for employment. You could put that right on your LinkedIn account, and then all of a sudden, all of those people that are your, that you have gone to school with start to populate your LinkedIn account, and then so forth and so forth and so forth. So alumni chapters are really valuable ways of getting connected in your city. And sometimes, it's nice just to know that you've got somebody who's gone through that same experience as you have, who potentially is currently working in that new environment and who can connect you with the people that, make those decisions to hire. So there you go. There's your 5 steps really to being able to successfully career transition when you're faced with a posting. I really hope that this has given you some food for thought, some information, and maybe some best practices that you're able to start to implement right away. We're going to send out we'd like you to maybe give us a heads up on how you, or a finger, your thumbs up on how you thought about this, what you thought about this workshop. You can send me an email at holly.rye@hrmfrc.onmicrosoft.com. Let me know how you liked the workshop, if it was helpful for you, and just to get connected. My door is always open. You're able to, receive the same level of support and services as we've had when we had the bricks and mortar. We're just doing it a little differently now. And welcome, you're welcome to the opportunity to reach out and get connected. Thanks, and talk to you soon.